So a couple of things I'd highlight. I think it's about having a more cohort-based and nuanced approach. So we've talked about young people maybe who've just come out of an apprenticeship or higher education and are then become dependent on welfare. So could we look, for instance, at the approach that they took from the late 2000s in Sweden, where they developed a concept called a rehabilitation chain, and that basically is where you front load the support and rehabilitation for someone at quite an early stage. And to some extent, a lot of that, as has just been said, that could be devolved, tailored appropriately, is going to be key. So I think that definitely would be one thing to think about, and setting out effectively a sort of a new timeline. But of course, that isn't going to be appropriate for all cases, and there are instances where reassessing isn't going to be effective. But that more kind of constant relationship-based approach, I think, would be effective. Example that I would give from Finland, which might be something to think about in terms of the cliff edge that Louise just talked about, is that they have something called a rehabilitation supplement, and so this is in this particular period where they would effectively be on the rehabilitation chain I've just talked about. There is an uplift for a set period of time that takes you above the incentive to remain on welfare, as it were. And so that is something you could think about, but clearly, notwithstanding all the already quite pressing fiscal challenges we have in this space, then that would be something to think about. And really just to encourage us to make sure that we do step back in this discussion and we really do think about that long-term approach and that kind of challenge of the relationship between employment and health. More broadly, the previous government were looking at tax incentives on occupational health. I think there's a lot we could do in that space, and for instance at Policy Exchange we encourage the development of an annual allowance, so you effectively take the £500 cap that we've got on medical treatments and you increase that substantially. We suggested $2,500 per employee, so thinking about the incentives that we know that exactly as Edward was saying, the big employers either already provide these services or have got the ability to do it, but what are the things that are actually going to enable small and medium-sized enterprises to do this is going to be really key, precisely because people managing more conditions in work is going to be a feature moving forward. So let's make sure we really do look at this in the round.
Just in terms of, this is very helpful.